Hey everyone, Tommy Sapp here with Protect His House. I've had a lot of questions from church safety team leaders about less lethal options, especially for churches that don't allow firearms or for teams that want one more step before using deadly force. So today I'm reviewing and testing two of the most popular pepper ball launchers on the market. We've got the Burna SD launcher, and we've also got the Prepared to Protect Secure 68P. We're going to run through both accuracy tests, some kinetic rounds, pepper rounds, loading demonstration, and just overall how well do these weapons operate. I'll share some of the pros and cons, some of the most common complaints people have had, and which one of these do I personally prefer for church safety teams and why. So if you're ready, let's get into it. Here's what I'm going to be testing for. Accuracy at realistic church distances, that's 10 to 30 feet. Consistency and velocity, malfunction or failure to fire, trigger pull and ergonomics under stress, ease of loading CO2, ease of loading the magazine. Okay, another one I'm going to be testing for is how quickly this thing's ready to go from a cold start. The visibility and quality of the sights, reliability of pepper rounds breaking properly, effectiveness of kinetic impact, weight, size, and overall handling, the cost of the launcher and the cost of the ammo, long-term storage readiness. Is this thing ready to go if it's been sitting for a little while? Noise level. We're inside of a church, indoors, so how loud is this gun inside of a church? User friendliness and team volunteers. Common complaints. All right, this is what they look like coming out of the box. This is our P2P here. Prepared to Protect, soft case. You've got the launcher, a couple sleeves here. It comes with 3. I've already used some CO2s. Looking at the Burna, kind of the same setup there, except for this is a hard plastic case. Comes with the launcher, a couple CO2s and some sleeves, and we're going to test these things out and see which one we like. All right, let's start with the Burna SD launcher. Burna is extremely popular. They've done a great job getting their product out in front of people, and a lot of folks swear by them. The price is typically between $330, $380, depending on the kit that you get. But let me show you how to load and prep the Burna. Now we're going to check out this Burna though. And so very similar with the Burna, the way that you load your CO2, you use your magazine. It's got a notch right there. You load it right here in the front. I've already loaded this. I've got some kinetic rounds. One difference I see right now is the safety. It looks like, so the P2P's got a safety on the trigger, sort of like a Glock. The Burna has an external safety right here. So I'm going to put it on fire and try this Burna out. First round was right on the money. Second round, it almost looked like it curved up to the right a little and was off target. Let me try one more. Yeah, it's got a little bit, and I'm probably 20 feet from the target here, and right before it hits the target, that round likes to start that curve a little bit. So I don't like that. The P2P launcher. So to load the CO2 in this launcher, you've got to release the magazine, and you'll see the magazine has this little notch right here. You're going to stick that little notch right here in the end. There's a spot for it. Struggling a little there. Loosen it up. You can do the rest with your hand. And you'll take this CO2, stick it down in that little slot, put the cover on. The cover's going to push it into the pin to pierce it and get this thing ready to roll. All right, it's time to try the P2P Secure 68P. You know, it's one of the new launchers that are on the market, but it's getting a ton of traction. So I wanted to get it in and test it alongside the Burna. It's typically less expensive than a Burna, especially for the full kit. Some of the features that I love is, number one, it comes as a full kit when you get the Secure 68P. It comes with the launcher, CO2, kinetic, pepper, inert, rubber rounds, This is a 68 caliber pistol. It averages around 350 feet per second. There are a few things that really stood out immediately to me. One is that it's got a 6-round drop-free magazine. So with the Burna, you really got to pull that magazine out sometimes. With the P2P, hit that mag release, drops out, makes for quicker reloads. Let's test out one of these kinetic rounds with the P2P. Woo! That would be painful. We're testing out the Burna with the pepper ball rounds. Let's see how this thing does. I had one separate there inside the barrel before it came out. It had separated, and you got some powder spray right here. So I don't like that. The wind appears to be blowing this way. This way, this way, this way, this way. All right, so shot both launchers, probably 50 rounds through each. I shot kinetic, I've shot powder rounds, shot some pepper ball rounds, and just testing the accuracy, making sure that they function okay. Let me give you just a quick breakdown of what I saw throughout the day, as well as a side-by-side comparison, and then I'll make my recommendation. Let me start with the P2P Secure 68P. Here's what I liked. First, I like the case better. It's a soft case versus the hard case with the Burna. Everything was organized, labeled, ready to go right out of the box. Second, prep time was easy. Loading the magazine, the CO2, getting the launcher ready was extremely straightforward. And I really like the response ready system. The fact that the CO2 doesn't pierce until I actually pull the trigger. That means that this launcher can sit ready for months and I still get full power on the first shot. There's nothing extra to smack or twist under stress. Just draw, point, and fire. The magazine is simple. The drop-free design made reloads very quick. Every round fed correctly today. There were no malfunctions, no double feeds, nothing hanging up. And of course, the accuracy. The accuracy was solid. From all distances, the rounds traveled straight. They were consistent. They were predictable. There were no flyers, no curves, no surprises. The fiber optic sights are a huge plus. They're clear, they're bright, they're much easier to pick up compared to the standard painted front sight. So what I didn't like about the P2P, my only real complaint with this is the size. It's a little bit bulkier than the Burna. And if you've got smaller hands or you're wanting something more concealable, something more compact, this model is a little large, but I do know that they make a smaller version. And so there's an option if size is your priority. On the Burna SD, what I liked, there were a bunch of things I did like, a bunch of things I didn't. A few things that I really do like. One is the grip. The grip feels really good. It's got this rubber grip to it, nice rubber texture. It's comfortable. It's a bit smaller in the hand than the P2P. And that may matter a lot for church safety volunteers. It's also very easy to prep, just like the P2P was, easy to load. The steps are familiar. Burna has done a great job with the user-friendly design. And overall, it has a very nice balance. So when you're aiming and when you're shooting, it's got a really nice balance to it. What I didn't like on the Burna, there were several things I didn't like. And many of these line up with common user complaints that I see online. The big one is the first shot inconsistency. You can feel it immediately. The first shot out of the Burna today was noticeably weaker than the rest. And this is something that a lot of Burna owners talk about. And I experienced it today when I was testing these out firsthand. From about 20 feet, I noticed a couple rounds that started to curve to the right before they hit the target. Not terrible, but definitely not as consistent as the P2P was as far as accuracy. I also had an issue where a round discharged in the chamber, releasing irritant powder and exposing me to the contaminants. And that's not something that you want happening in a church hallway, right, or in the church environment. Another thing was the magazine. It doesn't drop free like the P2P. You've got to tug on it a little bit or shake it on, and so under stress, that's going to slow you down some. Finally, Burna is more expensive, both for the launcher and for the ammo. And so, side-by-side comparison of these two launchers, first of all, the price. The P2P is more affordable, and that's for the full kit. The Burna you're going to pay more for, and you're going to pay more for the accessories and the rounds. They start to add up quick. Magazine capacity. The P2P, you've got the 6-round drop-free mag. With the Burna, you've got a 5-round magazine, and again, that magazine doesn't drop free. FPS, feet per second, and power, the P2P is at about 350 feet per second consistently. The Burna is, again, on that first shot, a little bit lower of a velocity. And so overall, just a little bit less velocity on the Burna than you get with the P2P. Prep time and deployment, P2P pierces the CO2 on the first trigger pull, so there's no extra steps. Burna requires some preparation and can lose the CO2 over time. Accuracy, we've already talked about it, but again, P2P was more accurate. There was no flyers. Burna, we had occasional curves, less consistent grouping. For reliability, the P2P, 0 malfunctions in today's tests. The Burna, you saw what happened. We had the chamber discharge, the inconsistent first shot, and then the magazine issues I've talked about. For the sights of these two weapons, P2P, very high visibility fiber optic sights. The Burna has just basic plastic sights, not as good in low light. And so my final recommendation, so for all those reasons, I'm recommending the P2P Secure 68P as the launcher of choice for church safety teams. It was more reliable throughout the day, gave me consistent accuracy, and I had no issues with rounds separating in the barrel. The first shot was full strength and every single time. The price point's better, especially for churches that need multiple units or want a non-firearm option before deadly force. And, both launchers have their place. But for me, the P2P stood out today as a stronger overall choice for church safety teams.